So a lot of people are calling this the best smartphone camera in the world, and we decided to test it, but in a different scenario. We decided to bring it to my favorite city in the world. I'm Jaime Rivera with Pocketnow. This is the Huawei P20 Pro, and let's see what it can do from the beautiful city of Rome. Keep in mind though, this is not a final review. I still do not have enough time with the phone. Call this more my first impressions because I was at the right place to do so. So there are a couple of peculiar things about the Huawei P20 Pro that are unique to every smartphone. To start, this is definitely the king of hardware when it comes to smartphone photography. The only time that I've seen 3 camera sensors in one phone. The fact that one of these camera sensors brings a second approach at 40 megapixels in a camera, and the fact that there's also the same blend that we've seen from Leica in the past, where we've got the monochrome sensor to complement photography, and now we also have a telephoto lens that makes an interesting solution in hybrid zooming with those added megapixels as well. Really cool. One of the things that I like the most about the P20 Pro is also one of the things that's a little complicated to handle, and it's AI. A lot of companies use the term AI now for photography, but really the first company to actively use that was Huawei. Point the camera at something, it detects what it is, and it adapts. The thing about the P20 Pro is it's extremely aggressive, a lot more aggressive than the Mate 10 Pro. You point at something and it automatically switches modes. It switches to portrait mode, it switches to blue sky, and the problem is sometimes you don't necessarily want that. There are cases where the resulting photos are amazing, but they're amazing for Instagram. They're extremely over-sharpened. And I know a ton of people that love them. I personally do these kinds of filters for Instagram, but I actually prefer the photo to be as natural as possible, which is one of the things that I like the most about the Leica approach with Huawei. And in the case of the P20 Pro, you have to point the camera at something, it'll switch modes automatically, and then you have to switch the camera back, turn the mode off, and hope that it doesn't switch itself back on, as it constantly fumbles with you to get it done. Sure, you can turn this off within the settings, but then there are cases where you actually want it, so I wish there was a balance. So, all this being said, you've got the hardware, you've got the software with AI. How are the photos? I guess in a word, the best way to describe them is gorgeous, but it all depends on your taste in photography. See, there is a lot of processing going on after you take a photo. The camera actually sharpens the photo, it provides color wherever you need it, and so definitely if you're a photography purist, and especially if you come from a previous Huawei smartphone where you're used to that pure photography, then yes, you're most probably going to fight this approach. But if you're just like me, you're interested in photos for Instagram, then definitely this camera is going to be a treat, because literally you don't do anything but take the shot. The camera takes care of everything else, and in most cases the camera actually knows how to boost everything adequately, again because AI detects what it's looking at and then adapts the camera mode to whatever it is that you need at the moment. Now, it is a very gloomy day in Rome. We're currently in Piazza Navona, one of my favorite spots in the city. And gloom, low light, that's probably one of the best things that this camera can do. And let me show you why. And then there are things like night mode, where Huawei has this very interesting approach to deal with what they consider to be the biggest issue in photography, and that's the fact that there's motion blur every time that you try to take a photo and you just can't keep it stable. And you're obviously not carrying a tripod because this is a phone. It's genius, at least in its idea, where it takes a ton of photos and then eventually collages a result that is supposed to not be blurry. Fact of the matter is, or at least now, the results are great some of the time. Then there are times where apparently the phone just doesn't produce a stable shot, or the phone takes forever to capture a shot and bring you a result, and obviously you're there stalled waiting for the photo to be processed. Again, I believe that the concept is the future. I believe that the concept is on its right way, but it still needs more work. I would say that this is the first phone that I would ever trust for zoom photography. And trust me, I've used them all. Galaxy S9 Plus, iPhone 10. The biggest problem really is detail. The 3x optical zoom on this phone is great, the 5x hybrid zoom is great, but even more interesting, even if you zoom in to 10x, give the phone a second, allow it to then stabilize the shot, and even those photos are useful. I really love this about this phone. Now, I wish I could say the same about selfie photos. You know I'm not a fan, but as it turns out, even though the hardware is here with 24 megapixels on the shooter, even though there is software to provide background blur through portrait photography, it seems that the software needs work, and then in the case of the hardware, it's clearly a problem whenever you're at night, and sometimes either it fumbles with white balance or it fumbles with things like lens flaring. It's really bad in certain cases. I hope this is just a problem with my unit. We've been receiving software updates, so it could just be that there's more work to be done here. And then there are the extras. Huawei seriously has to be spoiled with monochrome photography. There are cases where colored photos don't necessarily look good because the place is not that elegant, and where black and white photos simply make everything look elegant. And for those of you that don't like all the AI features and all the auto modes, you simply can just go into Pro mode and have all the manual photography that you're looking for that Huawei has done a great job with since the past couple of Mate phones. Now, fun fact, I wanted to record this video in the P20 Pro fully, and that didn't turn out to be such a good idea. There are a ton of limitations, starting with the selfie camera. There is no stabilization, and even though you have 24 megapixels, you are capped at 720p. Like, really? What year is this? And then in the second case, for example, in the primary shooter, there is stabilization. Video is actually really good, but then even though you have the Kirin 970 power here, there is no 4K video at 60 frames per second, and that whole 960 frame per second video, yeah, that experience is actually not good. The video comes out great and all. The problem is that the user interface doesn't support you to be able to record more than a few seconds, as opposed to the Galaxy S9 Plus, where it continues recording before processing, and then you can actually ask it to go ultra slow-mo again. In the case of this phone, you can't do that. It actually starts processing after it and just makes the whole experience just cumbersome. So yes, this is the Huawei P20 Pro from Rome. Is it the renaissance of photography? I would say that there is a lot of promise here. It's got the best hardware on a smartphone camera. There is a ton of software to back it up. It needs a little help in implementation. I guess my initial verdict would be I would definitely recommend this phone for photos. Not so much for video, but again, this is not our final review. I still need more time with it. Let us know in the comments what you think about the photos, and while you're at that, make sure you follow us on social media and subscribe to our channel as well. You can follow me on Twitter, Jaime_Rivera, on Instagram at Jaime Rivera. Please give this video a thumbs up if you like what you saw. I'm Jaime Rivera, thanks so much for watching. Let us know what you think about this video concept, and also see you on the next one.